Howdy everybody, I'm here to do a video on just my monthly updates and how things are growing. This one's probably going to stretch very long because I'm not even starting in my usual area. It's June, it's hot, and that means that some of the unusual plants are starting to finally come to life. In particular, this trellis is my containment for one of my really troublesome ones. That right there, that is a troublesome plant to most people. That is a maypop, or a cold hardy passion fruit. I planted 6 last year, all up and down both sides of this trellis. I was under the impression that they were going to pop up where they were and around the area. They are not popping up where they were, but they are popping up everywhere. There's the one I showed you. There's a patch here, there's a patch here, there's a patch here, there's a patch back there, there's patches all over the middle, there's a patch over here, a little patch there, and a little one there, a little one there, a little one there. They're popping up all over. They need more than one variety in an area to cross-pollinate, and there's no way for me to really tell them apart by variety anymore, but that's okay. I planted all different seeds, so as long as there's 2 survivors, I will still pollinate. They pop up and they grow very, very rapidly in the heat. They will produce these beautiful, beautiful flowers. They even produce the flowers on year 1, though not all of the fruit ripened. But they will produce beautiful flowers that I can't wait to show you all. And we're going to move on to another area that's not in my actual orchard. This is my first attempt at a hugel mound. The weeds took it over. I'd call it an abject failure, but there is still life on it. On each side of it, from I think FoodForest Nursery, I think is where I got these. They gave me an affiliate link, so actually if you want to order from them wherever I got this, I'll provide the affiliate link in the description, and if you buy from them I get 15%, something like that. I don't know much about it. I didn't ask for it, but I figured if I've got it, why not share it? They had very, very great prices, so I bought 2 buckeyes. My dad has always really liked buckeye trees, and I've heard that they contain saponins, so on each side of this there is a buckeye. One of them is that sort of 5-leafed twig in the ground there. And then potato plant. And I believe that's just a volunteer from last year I didn't pick. There's a lot of clovers and potato this last year. There's asparagus being blown all over the place. Such a windy day whenever I want to film. But lots of strawberries all over it. There are lots of white strawberries and red strawberries. In fact, I'll bet, if I look in close here, it's a tiny little baby. Oh, there's a bigger one back there, but tiny little baby. Oh, it was a little underripe. But, yep, there's strawberries on here, despite not really caring for them. There's a little variegated geranium. I bought that from Richter's, I think. It's a Canadian company, but they sell most of their product to Americans. This one's doing much more poorly, but there's another one of those buckeye trees. And I need to take a whole bunch of wood chips and cover this whole thing. Probably put like red solo cups on top of all of the plants I like the strawberries and such. And then just dump wood chips on it to smother everything to death. And let it actually become a good garden at that point. Because right now it's mostly just grass, and the more grass I pull, the more I lose material. And the whole point of a hugel mound is to be a raised bed, basically. But now that I've shown you those 2 things, we're going to take a little walk together to the orchard, as all of you are more familiar with. There's a lot to show you, so I suspect this video will stretch quite long. But, you know, hopefully I move fairly quickly. This isn't in the orchard, but it's nearby it. Here is a Saskatoon tree. Found a Saskatoon tree in town as ornamental with fruit on it, so I actually tried one today. Wow, it's windy. But Saskatoon berries I tried on an ornamental unnamed variety, and they were really great. And then here, battered by the wind, is one of my cut leaf echinaceas. Beautiful flowers later on in the year, and edible leaves. I'm gonna cross my overgrown gravel drive. Now we'll start out in here. It's a magnolia tree that was planted for my mom. There's another one up here. So while I didn't plant these, I have been taking better care of them, and they've been blooming more heavily in response. You know, not huge, but nice native magnolia trees. Quite beautiful. Wildflower patch I raked some soil aside from and threw wildflower seeds down. We're right up by the road right now, so I do apologize for the traffic. Right here's our red bud that I bought this year. Got strawberries around it, elephant garlic around it. Over here's one of the sad things. I'm quite confident at this point that this jujube tree did not survive winter. So it's a goner. Have to replace it with something at some point. But this walking onion is looking incredible. Look at the amount of babies I'm going to be able to get from just that stalk, and then the next stalk, and the next stalk. This one's got bigger babies, and it's got babies on top of babies. So I'll be able to clone a ton off of that one. Heading over here. This is my Pioneer dogwood, and I've just got potatoes all around it. Potatoes are looking awesome. Well, maybe not. Potatoes look like something's been sprayed on them, or something's damaged some of them, but it's a little unusual, but mostly they're alive. And it looks terrible right now, but in that little hole is a chamomile plant. I'm hoping that it bounces back. Ton of sage. None of my Szechuan peppers made it, so I'm going to have to decide what to replace them with. But we're just going to walk along the front. I'm going to skip the rest, really, because it's almost all stuff that didn't make it, for whatever reason. But here we have another potato, another garlic, and a gummy berry, nitrogen-fixing gummy berry. Very happy to have it. Walking along, spread a ton of mulch here. 3 garlics, another gummy berry, another potato, some clover that was already growing there naturally that I've just did my best to not cover when I mulched the area, because clover is so beneficial to us. And this next one, we're walking further in a little bit. Oh, honeybee on the clover, I'll walk around her. But one of my aronia berries that seems like as the deer step in to the yard, they fill up on the aronia berries because they run to it first, and they eat less of everything else. Behind the aronia, you can see an eastern bee balm, just beautiful in the wind, flowing around, but it looks beautiful. It's a big bumblebee just holding on for dear life in there, bouncing around. Cut leaf coneflower, small but it's there. A couple potatoes, river locusts. Walking along to the next area. Kind of caught a peek of it before, but there's Baptisia that's not in bloom yet. There's probably my biggest and healthiest aronia bush. It's got some suckers growing out from the base I should probably pull off or replant. But it's growing quite well despite the constant pest pressure. If I show you under that leaf, those are all underripe aronia berries. So I'll actually have my first flush of aronia berries on this side. I got those from, I think, Indiana Berry, yeah. There's bluestone perennials. Some potatoes that are struggling back there. Walking along to the next aronia. Got another Baptisia from bluestone. Some more potatoes, another cut leaf coneflower. There's the actual aronia, still still struggling a little bit. Another Baptisia, some more potatoes. Keep walking along to my last aronia. We have another river locust, also called woody Baptisia. Kind of just barely bluish, but also kind of past already. But just a little bit bluish. Pretty plant, nitrogen fixing plant. Gets much bigger than I thought it did when I planted it, so I may have to chop and drop it in subsequent years, but that's okay. That's what nitrogen fixers are for. Aronia berry that's all kind of chewed up, but it's still alive. Little columbine flower down there. It's got some pretty bad mildew on its leaves, but it's got some fresh leaves coming up. Some garlic, some daylilies, some potatoes. As we walk further in, we have something that's both good and bad for my heart. We have a separate jujube that's still alive and is actually thriving, but now it has no pollinator, so I have to figure out what on earth can I buy that will pollinate jujube but doesn't die like the last one did. Because I can't just buy another of this variety because they'll not cross-pollinate. Comfrey next to it that I planted last spring is doing awesome. And then some beans, and looking terrible right now, but there is a goji berry there. Got to give it some more time to adapt. And we'll start walking along this path onto my smaller of my two green gauge plum trees. Potatoes. It's a lot of names for this, but catmint is the most common. It's a cross between catnip and a mint. The bees absolutely love it. You can see 2 bumblebees on it, even in this intense wind. 3 bumblebees now. One of them just shoved past me to get into that plant. They love it. I bought it literally because I was at a garden center, and we didn't see any bees at the garden center. We're like, man, what kind of a garden center doesn't have bees? This isn't very good. Until we hit this one table with these things, and there were thousands of bees all up and down the pots of these plants. They don't spread very quickly for a mint. And by that I mean it's maybe increased by 30% or less since last year. It's a little bit more, but it's not that much. So if you want a cold hardy, tough perennial that the bees seem to really love, and it doesn't seem to cause too much trouble to have it around, I'd highly recommend catmint. Yellow goji berry, it's quite tall. Goji berries tend to not stand on their own very well. They flop over. There we go. My elbow is almost at a right angle, so it is almost as tall as my sternum. But it's just kind of going to be flopping and blowing in the wind for a while. Big happy asparagus, it's been blown over. More potatoes right there. Just start walking over the next one. This one, asparagus, echinacea. That's a Mount Royal. Mount Royal plum. Looking quite good. And there's these popping up. I don't know what these are, but they look a lot like plums to me. I wonder if they're runners off the rootstock. Just maybe. I'll have to wait and see a little bit more. As I keep walking this way, here we're going to hit our Ann plum, A-N-N-E, something like that. But it is surrounded by potatoes, because at the start of this year it didn't have any companion plants. It now has a goji berry down there that's very small. It's lost all the leaves on that branch, but this little branch here on top of my toe has some green left. Some little bitty asparagus, first year asparagus. Some new growth growing on this plum. And I don't remember what I put here, but I scraped back the soil to plant something there. Or not the soil. Here we arrive at my medlar tree. Down there is a, what's the word I'm looking for? Tayberry. Right there. Just might be either my first squash my first gourd, because I where I planted either gourds or artichoke. We'll see what that ends up being. But my medlar tree, it looks pretty rough all the time. It's been chewed up pretty bad, but hopefully in time it bounces back. Down low, also in the mint family, I have a horehound. A little bit of wood chip on top, but horehound in the mint family, medicinal. Tastes a lot like a marshmallow to me. And an asparagus, little bitty asparagus. So nice companion planting in that spot. Things are growing quite nicely. And then my bigger green gauge that I paid more money for. Got a bee balm right there, itty bitty. Asparagus, garlic, echinacea, just a young small one. Ponca blackberry. Did not flower last year, so I'm hoping it does this year. Bleeding heart that's been blown over in the wind. I don't know if it's going to make it till next year or not. Start walking on to the next section. Right here we have a crandall clove currant, planted fairly late in the year, but it's doing well. It's even got some flowers. Got some potatoes. This is my Dodds banana. Berries next to it. Some garlic. Some bee balm. Moving on. Just gonna patch it here. I know that I dug deep into the soil here last year in order to bury some compost. So I've got squash growing on it now. And completely buried underneath this asparagus. The asparagus is pretty much out competing the apple, but this is my disease-resistant Macintosh. It's struggling for some reason. Some kind of raspberry I got at Brambleberry Permaculture last year. I don't know what variety. My dad picked it and said he wanted another raspberry, so I'm not going to argue. I like to feed my family. There's squash in here that have largely had their leaves fried by something, as well as some potatoes that have had their leaves fried. I don't know what on earth got on them, whether it was water at the wrong time or some kind of bugs, but something has killed a lot of leaf growth. And then getting over here, we've got one of my cherry tree guilds. There's a blueberry right there. There's some strawberries popping up all around it. And this is my little cherry tree that has just not done anything. It was this big when I planted it. It didn't grow all of its first year, and it's leafed out okay, but it still hasn't grown any this year. If it doesn't grow any by the end of next year, but it's still alive, I'm going to dig it up and cut most of the roots off of it and put it right back in the soil, in case maybe there's some kind of a root bounding issue. But there's the garlic. Lots of little strawberries. There's a strawberry in there that's perfectly ripe even. Right now, the only type of strawberries I have are Ozark Everbearing. So, those are what are ripening right now, Ozark Everbearing. There's some ants on this one. Yep. So when you grow organic with nothing protecting the crops, you get a little bit of this stuff. It happens, but it doesn't bother me. Tastes every bit as good as a grocery store, maybe a little bit better. Step on over to the next area. I'll just drop it on the ground. The rest of it's a little bit damaged. So we'll let it feed this area. Need to do a lot more weeding in here. But here is my 2-year-old pink champagne currant. I believe again from Indiana berry. Some things have been eating these unripe berries off of it. I don't know what's eating the unripe berries, but even with something eating a lot of the unripe berries, there's still berries on it. A whole lot more than the first year. There's red flowered strawberry. There's a walking onion mixed in with some clover. There's a garlic. Another red flowered strawberry patch. Red flowered strawberry runner. And some big red flowered strawberry flowers. Here we have a haskap, which has a berry on it. Very tiny berry. But haskaps are struggling in my intense heat in summer last year, so I'm surprised I got anything. I thought they were dead. That does, a description I've heard is like a blueberry and a strawberry at the same time. That's not a far off description at all. Not bad. Some bee balm again. Start moving on to the next section. Run into a blueberry right there. That one I believe I know I got it at Costco. The variety is still on this tag. Peach sorbet, or peach sherbet is what I'd say. We got another honeyberry over here, a pollinator for the one I just nibbled off of. Another eastern bee balm. Little patch of goldenrod. Most people would probably be trying to kill it, but I have no interest in getting rid of the goldenrod. Garlic, asparagus, another geranium. Huge potato plants, tall as my knee potato plants. I need to bury them in some more mulch. Yarrow, comfrey, some kind of currant that I got off Etsy that was unnamed and rather suspicious, but it's grown well enough. That comfrey's doing really great, really. Another big potato, a bunch of squash in there, a bunch of squash over here, a tomato. Keep walking over here. That blueberry got demolished all winter long, nibbled down to stubs, but it's come back with some life to it. There's the comfrey I stepped down a few videos back, and it's sending up all new growth now as the old flowers are just starting to fade out. So they've fed lots of bees this whole time. Did a lot of weeding in this area, still got a long ways to go, but if I walk back here a little bit, you can see in the shade there's another honeyberry and a bee balm up under all of that, so happy to have done what I could for them. Two garlics right here, so we'll keep walking. Some beans, big old male asparagus plant reaching all the way out here, and then there's a gooseberry up under all of that. Probably need to cut that comfrey back to make sure it's got enough sunlight. Real quick, I'll just come in and just snap off a chunk. Comfrey has prickles, but I have pretty tough hands. Yeah, comfrey, snap it right off and just lay it around whatever you're growing. Just like that. I've now given it more sunlight and more food. Comfrey breaks down a lot faster than most other deep tap rooted nutrient accumulators. We've got some yarrow. Got a Shapova pear I'm really excited for. Some places tell me they're self-fertile, some places tell me they're not. Here we have a couple cut leaf coneflowers that are finally starting to establish. They don't look amazing, but they're at least starting to look more established. And then back over here, looks like something has nibbled on it, but there's a gooseberry. Yep, gooseberry, and then there's a grape. This was my beloved mulberry, but it died at the graft union. I'm currently looking for a place that will sell me this variety on its own roots instead of grafted. Stepping over this way, in with all those weeds is some raspberries. And over here is my Odisso Red Love apple. It's fully broken dormancy and fully come into its own. It's looking quite healthy. The leaves kind of start out this odd tinge, and of course it is surrounded by potatoes. So I need to bring in more mulch for them. On to the next row. There was a bush cherry here, but it has not made it. As I walk up further, there's one of my 2 Arkansas black apples. Very thick-skinned, tough, disease-resistant variety. It's supposed to be really good at resisting problems. Here's a spot I did a ton of weeding. A little asparagus coming up there, another one over there. So it's got some life coming up. There's some Apios americana, or American groundnut, up in there, looking for a new place to climb at. There's a honeyberry there and there. I probably need to dig them up and move them further away. I finally put a tree tube on it because it's been chewed down so many times. But this is my purple passion apple. Not really pleasant to eat up on their own, but they're supposed to be really great for a lot of other reasons. They're supposed to be great to make applesauce, because it turns into red applesauce, make cider for red cider. A lot of good uses for it, just not a good eating straight. I originally got it as a crab apple to pollinate, but I'm told it's sterile, so it's pretty much useless as a pollinator apple. That's okay, it'll still be pretty. Here we have a lavender that's starting to grow, and one of the apples there. Way down at the bottom, getting covered in goldenrod, there is a daylily in there, and another honeyberry, and another tomato. Continue walking out this way. We're about to walk up to my last cherry tree right here. It's looking quite good in my opinion. Yep, just standard cherry tree. And the strawberries around it have gone absolutely everywhere. Just huge amount of strawberries around. Done a lot of weeding. The gooseberry still got some berries on it, and a ladybug on it. And more strawberries over here. Yep. These are supposed to be white strawberries, but it seems if they get overripe, maybe they get some pink. Oh yeah, this thing's very squishy. Squished it just picking it up. So maybe it's going to be overripe, but yep, white strawberry. Advertised it as a pine berry. It's supposed to taste like pineapple. I don't get the pineapple. They're good. A little less intense strawberry taste when they're overripe, but they're pretty good. And then as I step in here, here's my other berry. So that's going to eventually get taller and be a berry bush. That was my last cherry. And then I won't walk us over to it, but right over there is my colossal chestnut, one of my only named variety chestnuts. It's quite happy here. It'll need a pollinator at some point. Here we have one of my sea buckthorns or sea berries, great nitrogen fixer. And around here, one of my sea kale. Very beautiful plant when it's in bloom. And it's past that point now. And these are the seeds that form. It forms one seed per circle. Little bitty green circles. And inside of this there'll be a single seed once it's ripe. But I've realized they're sweet and taste a lot like asparagus. I mean a lot like asparagus. So, as a early summer snack, those would be amazing in a salad. They're super crisp and crunchy, just sweet enough that they're sweet for a green, but very green tasting, very asparagus-like. So there are so many different delicious parts of this plant. I cannot recommend it enough. And the fact that it's perennial, and I planted it last year, and it's still providing me all this food, and it's only getting bigger, I just can't recommend sea kale enough if you're in an environment that it'll be happy in. And it's salt tolerant. Not a problem that we have here, but quite salt tolerant. That one was a little older, so there's a little toughness to it, but definitely pretty good. All right, on to the next row. Up here, all this bindweed I got to get through. We have another blueberry, another shipova, and lovage. So a little bitty, simple area. Here's one of my Chicago cold hardy figs coming back from the roots. Have to bury it in mulch in my climate or it'll die altogether. But hopefully, I'm told it can come back from the roots fast enough to still produce food by the end of the year. There's a tomato again, sunchokes, comfrey, apple tree, one of my sunchoke mounds in the middle of my orchard, marshmallow plant. This is where I had my my cold hardy orange, but it didn't make it. But we have some absolutely huge, beautiful walking onions. I can plant any of those bluebills anywhere I want a new plant, and it will do amazing. So I can start cloning a bunch off of this. It's not fully in bloom yet, but my purple bee balm is just starting out. Got more comfrey. Got my rosemary there. I got my good King Henry there. I've used some of the comfrey to mulch all around it. Lots of wine cap mushrooms coming up in the earth or in the wood chips. Here I've got some cold hardy variety of yucca, planted it last year. Here we have a very standard purple echinacea. Hasn't got its petals out yet. They bloom in a very unique way, but yep, it's on its way. It's starting out. Here we have my yoga ginger and a ladybug. So walking over this way, we have a walking onion I transplanted, and it's already got bluebills on the end that are going to try to take root there. In between that stem is a cut leaf coneflower. This is my 2-in-1 from Gurney's Asian pear, or Oriental pear, all sorts of names for it, but there's a pear mint from Richter's. It does not like the spot it's in, but if it survives, it can stay. Over here, I believe it's just barely poking through, but I put a, what's the word? Sunflower relative, kind of like a sunchoke, yacon. Put a yacon tuber down there. So we're just going to have to see how yacon grows in my climate, especially in a little bit of sun. Put some standard small little salad radishes here, and they've already bolted. So that just means that I'll have seeds to throw everywhere, and then I'll have a bunch of salad radishes all over. Over here we have my first peach. And by the base of it, there is a chamomile plant, a motherwort plant, and a strawberry plant. As for the size of the peaches, the biggest one, compared to my hands, is at least 2 fingers across, and I don't see any problems with it, so I may actually get a good peach. All the other peaches I have picked off because they have been infected with some kind of pest. And then we get out here. Here we have my chestnut crabapple. It was from St. Lawrence Nursery. It had a very extensive root system. Very, very good quality. Raspberry. Stepping over here, we have my surviving bush cherry and my other Arkansas black apple. Those are both doing quite well, quite happy. Continuing to walk along. Here I have a very small sea berry. It was struggling and it has a lot of yellow leaves that are ready to fall off, but some of those green leaves were yellow when I used some of my swamp water or my compost tea on it. So it's brought back to life a bit. It's another lovage. There's a thyme. That really to me looks just like a tomato, but I didn't plant a tomato here. So we're left in this philosophical dilemma of what is it? Is it still a tomato if I didn't plant it here? People tell me tomatoes won't mature fast enough from seed to actually produce anything in my climate. So we're just going to have to see what happens with that. If it ends up being something like a bush cherry or something like that, pretty sure they have very different leaves, but I wouldn't be opposed to a lot of other things in the nightshade family that are still fun. Here we have a young comfrey, and this is all planted around my peace garden apple. Happy asparagus. I planted a big clump of catnip there, and something destroyed it immediately. Who knows what that could have been about. More mushrooms, more strawberry runners. There's my tripod from shooting another video a while back. Here we have a cut leaf coneflower, and it has an Apios americana, or American groundnut, growing up around it. And those leaves also look an awful lot like tomatoes, so I don't know. There's the last of my first batch of compost tea concentrate, and my next batch is brewing up in there. And there's a bunch of ripe strawberries up under there. So, more runners coming off of it too. Got a honeyberry right there. Big happy rhubarb. Some kind of dianthus we got at the grocery store. We got a asparagus coming up right there at the tip of my shoe. We got a strawberry that I planted this year, and it's already sending out runners, which people say always pick off your runners because they're taking energy from your main plant. You'll get less strawberries, which is true, but I'm getting free strawberry plants out of the deal, so I'm willing to be patient. So I'm going to let it runner. It looks like it's already got 3 runners coming off of it. Got some bush beans I stuck in the ground just for some passive nitrogen fixation. A hollyhock, very pretty, but also edible and useful ornamental. Here we have another sea kale. This one is covered in both flowers and seeds right now. Seeds maybe look just a touch smaller. Taste is the same. Really good. Asparagus-like. Sweet. As you can see, this walking onion has, again, huge bluebills. Every bit as big as a pearl onion. So, great way to just grow pearl onions perennially. Another blueberry. I'm gonna sneeze, I apologize. Another echinacea. This comfrey plant is young, but it's still grown huge. Serviceberry in here, really struggling. Looks like all of the berries this year were rejected and just shriveled right up. That's okay. That's life. You know, it was its first year in the ground here. I planted it last fall, so give it some time. Both walking onions here have been battered by the wind and snapped over, so it's time for me to plant them in the ground. And there's a echinacea that I started from seed with my mom. So she'll be happy to see it growing, but more bush beans. I should have been way more careful where I walked because I know that I've put asparagus in the ground right about where I'm standing. And I don't see it where I'm standing, but I do see one there, and I do see one there. So I need to pay better attention to spots that I have put asparagus recently. But, yep, asparagus is starting to come up. So many different forms of life just passively returning. And we're on to the last row of the fruit orchard now. Another echinacea that's just starting to open up. And sunchokes, apple tree, comfrey, walking onions. Up in here we've got a baby comfrey that I started from a root fragment 3 weeks ago, I think. It's a little 3-week-old comfrey plant right there. Potatoes, baptisia, little bitty peach. This one was a double jewel. I think a double jewel is the name. There's my pond. Still don't have the pump going, but that's okay. I don't have any fish or anything, so I'm not worried about killing anything. I'm happy to leave it for the frogs for now. And then my other apple in this area, right here. There's a patch of clover I started for nitrogen fixation. There's a mum that my mom wanted to plant. There's a bunch of mint